Good morning and welcome to the Growth and Thriving Morning Mindset. I'm your host, Dr. Jerry Sunshine Novak, the biker psychologist. And today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about personal finance. Finance can be a tricky subject in this space because it's of different importance to different people. For some people, accumulating wealth and be achieving wealth, being rich, if you will, is an important goal for them, and it's an important piece of thriving. Other people are less financially motivated, less money motivated, and some people even attach some ethics to money, that having wealth makes somebody of questionable ethics or questionable character. Um, and it's okay, like you can thrive um, having wealth, and you can live a life of thriving with a more modest financial standing. However, what I will say is whether you are a high earner with multiple income streams, somebody who's trying to accumulate wealth, or whether you're somebody who prefers to live financially more modestly, living free of debt and being prepared for later years when you will no longer be working or actively earning income are important key components for thriving for most people. To that end, I do talk a bit about personal finance in my growth and thriving practices, and I do some personal financial coaching with people, helping people get their finances in order. If they want to amass wealth and move into that strategy, I help them get started and then maybe refer them to a financial planner. But for many of the people I work with, it's just about managing finances well enough that it is not a stressor, and that an unexpected or unforeseen expense doesn't create a major obstacle in their life. So, step one in personal finance is usually about eliminating debt. Debt is the killer of financial well being. And so your first step is usually to pay off debt. Once you are out of debt, especially consumer debt, especially credit cards and things of that sort, there is some disagreement in the field about things like mortgages or car loans. But for sure, credit card debt is going to hold you back. And step one in getting your finances in order should be to pay off that debt. Step two is usually about accumulating some savings. And that's where I want to focus today, is how we make decisions about our savings account, about how much money we save and where we put it and what we do with it. So I like to think of having three types of savings. And what we're always doing in our various savings is we are trying to balance how soon we might need money versus not allowing it to depreciate. So money depreciates. Inflation causes money. In 10 years, money will be worth half of what it's worth now. $10, in a decade from now, will buy what $5 does. So our money depreciates. So if you have it in a traditional bank account that doesn't earn interest or earns very little interest, or if you have it in your home or buried in your yard or whatever, you are losing money because your money is depreciating. So that's, amassing wealth is very often about figuring out how to earn at a higher rate than inflation, because that's what depreciates our money. Unfortunately, most of the things that earn at a higher rate than inflation tie our money up for a little bit, right? Things like real estate investing or just investing in the stock market. If you have an emergency and need some of that money, it could take you a couple of days to a couple of weeks to get at your money. And if you have an emergency, you might not be able to wait. So what I do is I consider three options, one of which is optional, but I use it. It's up to you. Basically, what I do is I recommend, and I do this myself, that people keep between $1,000 and $3,000 in a savings account or even a checking account, but in an account that they can access easily with a debit card, right? $1,000 to $3,000 that you can get at immediately if you need it. The reason for that is that between $1,000 and $3,000 will cover most very immediate crises. Even things that are going to be more expensive, so heaven forbid, but let's say you have a pipe burst in your house and that's going to be a $10,000 or $15,000 repair, but you need a plumber to come out and stop it from, flooding your whole house. Even if they're going to charge you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, if you can put $1,500 down or $1,200 down or something like that, that's usually enough that if you say to them, let me put $1,500 down and I'll pay you the balance in 4 days or something, that's typically reasonable. So that money that you keep in your regular account that you have access to is going to depreciate. And so that's the smallest amount of savings, right? And that's why I say 1,000 to 3,000. It depends on your comfort level and what you feel like you should have. If you have closer to the high end, if you're at 3,000, you'll have an easier time in an emergency, but you'll have more money depreciating more quickly. So you figure out where the balance fits for you. On the back end is what I think of as long-term savings. Money that I save for long periods of time that I don't necessarily need to get my hands on immediately. But that would be my, maybe 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. If I find myself out of work and without income and I need to live off of that, I can get to it, but I won't need it right this instant, right? I can pay my bills in a week or something like that. So that money I try to keep invested in things that will outpace inflation. So inflation is about 7% a year. If you look at things like the stock market, that tends to average about 11% a year. I know not in the last year or two, but typically it outpaces inflation. If you know something about real estate investing, or even people who invest in collectibles, who have, rare baseball card collections or comic book collections, that money could be, you could have $10, $15, $20, $25,000 either in investments. You have millions in investments, or in something that appreciates, that makes you money. The issue is if you need that money, you're going to have to sell stock or sell some real estate or sell your collectibles. And that could take from a few days to a few weeks. And so the idea is you keep a smallish amount of money readily available. So yes, it's going to depreciate, and that's not a great option, but you can get at it if you need it. Then you keep a much larger sum somewhere that will appreciate and earn you money. And if you need it, you can get at it, but it will take a little time. The third option, which in my opinion is optional, it's not vitally necessary, but I use this option. It just gives me some comfort. And at the end of the day, whether you're talking about your nutrition, your fitness, your finances, I think the rule that holds true is it's not about being as optimal and perfect as possible all the time. It's about finding the level that gives you some peace of mind, that allows you to breathe easy in the world. So this middle stage that I use is a high yield savings account. You can find them from different companies. American Express has one. Goldman Sachs has one that's called Marcus. Vanguard just started one. They pay, at the moment, they're paying fairly well. They pay right now about 5%. On average, they pay 3.5%, something like that. When the economy's bad, it does go down sometimes to 0.5%, 0.75%. But the thing to know is that even at 0.75%, you are earning exponentially more than you would in a traditional savings account. So basically the way I look at these accounts is I would not keep the large share of my savings here. I certainly wouldn't put my retirement into one of these accounts. because it's still going to depreciate, right? I told you right now, many of these accounts are paying very high and they're at 5%, while inflation is 7%. So we're still losing money over time, but what we're doing is we're losing more slowly. Our money's not depreciating as quickly. So the way it works in my mind is I have a small amount of money readily available for an immediate emergency. So between $1,000 and $3,000, and yes, it depreciates at 7% because if I need it, I need it. Then I keep another few thousand, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 in a high yield savings account. And so that tends to be money that either I'm saving up for something, like money I put aside for the holidays, to buy gifts every year, and that it doesn't appreciate, depreciates more slowly. It earns interest, but not as much as inflation. So the idea is that if I'm saving money all year round, if I put, $50 or $100 a month away for holiday shopping, at least for those months that it's sitting in the account, it's earning some interest. But then the holidays come and I use it. Or if, like I said, a pipe in my house bursts, I use that $1,000 to get a plumber out immediately and stop the flood. And then I'll use the money in that account to help pay for the house. Then my long-term savings, for maybe travel down the road, vacations down the road, money that I will, put into other investments, buy real estate, things like that, gets invested either in the stock market and index funds or in real estate or in something like that. And the idea is that money, I just allow it to amass, and I don't need it readily. Over time, it should outpace inflation and I should make money and do better. But on any given day, if I need it, the market can be up or the market can be down. If the market's down, I will have lost money. So I have to put money away in this kind of an account where if the market's down, I can say, well, let me wait. Let me not take that trip to Peru, until the market picks up. Let me put that off, so that I can let that money sit and wait for it to respond to the market. So anyhow, this is the idea. So the way we put this into practice is step one is, start to manage your extraneous spending. You can't be hemorrhaging money, right? That's step one. Step 1A, if you will. Step 1B is pay off the debt you already have. Pay off credit cards. If you can pay off your car, awesome. If you can pay off your student loans, awesome. But at very least, pay it down as much as humanly possible. And once you're no longer drowning in debt, then start putting some money into a savings account. Once that turns into $1,000 or $1,500, something like that, then open yourself a high yield savings if you're interested in that middle step. And whatever money you would have put into your savings, leave there, but now feed the high interest, the high yield savings account. Once you get comfortable that you have a few months worth of expenses to live on if there's a disaster, then start taking additional money and saving it in something that's an investment, something that will earn you interest back, whether that's real estate or stock market or collectibles. Just make sure you have, if you're not educated yourself, that you get good guidance. If you're going to go into the stock market, index funds are pretty safe. Bonds are safer than stocks, but they don't earn as much. But find a broker or a finance person who can educate you and help you understand this. But start today. Manage your impulse spending, start paying down debt, and start saving some money. The immediate money is going to depreciate, but do it anyway, because if you need it, you have to be able to get at it. Once you have that stored up, think longer term and set your mind toward outpacing inflation so your money doesn't depreciate. This will help you, like I said, if you want to amass wealth. But even if you're not so concerned with amassing wealth and you just don't want to struggle, these are the keys to the kingdom. So give it a try. Let me know how you make out. And until next time, I'm Dr. Jerry Sunshine Novak, the biker psychologist, saying keep growing until you're thriving.